So Helen is asking, if I switch to salary sacrificing, can I claim the benefit retrospectively for the current year? I think what you're saying there, Helen, is if you start salary sacrificing now, can you claim the benefit for the rest of the remainder of the year? Now, you can only salary sacrifice into the future. So if you're going to start salary sacrificing now, the maximum you could salary sacrifice if it was your if your employer allowed you to do the full income would be your total income for the next month or so. So that's all you could salary sacrifice. You can't salary sacrifice retrospectively. I have $88,000 in Christian Super, and I began working for the government in 2009. Was unable to roll over GSB to Christian Super, so have two funds going. Also have $80,000 in savings, and any suggestions on how to maximize my situation, Deborah? Depends on your age and your situation, but if you're continuing to work, you basically want to take advantage of, depending on whether you can access all of the money that you've got with the government super fund, depending on whether that's a defined benefit or not. But transition to retirement strategy is probably a really good one to consider. And that's where you could potentially have your $80,000 from Christian Super, $80,000 of savings, and your balance in GSB, and you could put all that into super, push it to pension phase, draw, depending on your age. If you're over 55 or it's even better if you're over 60, you could potentially, I'm making some assumptions here, please correct me if you're not in that age bracket, but you can potentially then salary sacrifice more and have thousands of dollars of tax savings each year. So well worth considering. I addressed that in quite a bit of detail in the retirement planning webinar in July. So if you're wanting to check that out, that's probably a timely point to do it, because you can start to set those things up at the start of the financial year and get them in place. So I hope that's helped. Janice is saying, not a question, but income related to the co-contribution, 10% of total needs to be earned in Australia in any year. This applies to missionaries over 10% of total income needs to be earned in Australia in any year. This applies to missionaries. Yeah, so if it needs to be the income needs to be earned in Australia, not overseas income. Yeah, thanks for the comment there, Jan, and particularly pertinent for missionaries. Just add a thank you and signing off. Thanks, Barry. I think you might have gone by now. So they're the questions that have just come through via the chat section. I'll go back to the audio for those that are online. So Andrew asks, how to retire with a similar income to my current income. Basically, that comes down to all about saving sufficient retirement assets to provide for your current income. Often, I think the Ask for Westpac survey on living a comfortable retirement for a couple is just under $54,000 at the moment. So if you were to be totally self-funded, generally you can say it's at least 12 times that in terms of assets, generating 8.3% return to provide for your retirement. So if you wanted to get $54,000, you multiply that by 12, it's $648,000 in assets that you need to provide for that. Very general rule of thumb, to provide for your $54,000 in income. It doesn't count getting a part pension, which it probably would, having less assets than the threshold. You get a part pension, so that would supplement it a bit. You would also potentially eat into your capital, so you start to draw into your capital a bit more. But it's all about trying to save sufficient assets to provide for your retirement. And the way you do that is similar strategies that I talked through with Deborah before. Transition to retirement, so salary sacrifice, moving your superannuation money to pension phase, getting those thousands of dollars tax savings each year, and just putting some sound strategies in place to make some savings. Just got questions coming through online. Deborah's booked in the seminar. Thanks for the feedback there. Can you confirm that the dependent spouse tax officer is still available for over 40s. Yeah, so it's only the dependent spouse tax offset is being implemented for those less than 40. So it's encouraging those people under 40 to get into the workforce. I can't recall. I could go back to the page to look at when they're, because I think that's probably the starting point with the longer term phasing out for those over 40, but at the moment it's just for those under 40. So thanks for your question. Keep tabs on that. Tony's saying thank you and good night or goodbye. Thanks for your feedback. Keep firing through your questions, or if you want to ask one verbally, then put up your hand because I've worked out how to unmute the line. I'll just go back to the questions. So we've answered Andrew's question. Moving on to Tracy's question, which is how to reduce tax while you're working to save for a unit, etc., and get a deposit. Well, probably the best way to save in this scenario is there's not a lot of tax saving mechanisms, but one is the first home savers account. It matches up with your plan to save for a unit. So you're saving tax because you're putting money into the first home savers account, which pays tax at 15%. And if you're earning, generally people are working full time, earning more than $37,000, or not. I guess the average wage is more than $37,000. So generally people are paying tax at 31.5 cents in the dollar. So if you invested your deposit in your own name, you'd be paying 30% tax on that money, or 31.5% tax. If you got it in a first home savers account, you're only paying 15% tax. And you also get those co-contributions of 17% as well. So I'd really encourage you to review the first home savers account. If you search on my website, there's an article that goes into the full details of that. It can give you links to the providers. And also I think Choice has some good reviews of the product providers as well. Thanks, Tracy. Just got another question coming through. I've been overseas. Where is a good place to go online to read to understand all the super and tax specific terminology? Yeah, good question. I've just done a webinar on superannuation so that was done in March, similar to this webinar, but I've recorded it. It's available on my website at cornerstonewealth.com.au / I think it's called super video / super video. And it's got 10 videos. It explains most of the details about superannuation that you would need to know. If you're not wanting to listen to it, watching it in the form of videos, I've also got a podcast that I uploaded those to as well. So you can download it via iTunes. So just search on Gavin Martin in iTunes, or Your Money Count. So not Your Money Count. So Your Money, Your Life, Personal Finance Podcast. So that's a good resources that I've made available to you. But I'm trying to think of other places as well. But I would start there. It's a great foundation. It just talks through most of the rules and when can you access super, how can you access it. Goes into a lot of the details. So I hope that's of help to you there, Ian.